not to get discouraged. And the professor also talked about editing, so post-editing, and this is something we're going to now talk about with Pablo Creti. He is responsible for the digital offer of the Society and Culture Department of RSI. It's RSI, sorry. Thank you very much. I'm going to do the same thing as Professor Canzoni. I think I'm going to sit down because that makes me feel more comfortable. And one of my tasks, as far as being responsible for the digital offer, is that I need to make sure that our videos don't have 25 views on YouTube, but a bit more on all the platforms that we launch the videos on. So usually we succeed in that. To introduce what I'm going to talk about, I actually brought you a video as a success story from RSI. This is something from 2016 when we noticed that young people of your age, but even younger, no longer watch TV, but listen to radio more. And so we invented this video here.
Spiegare che cos'è spam non è facilissimo, almeno a parole, perché per noi ragazzi che ci seguono è veramente un mondo fatto di voci, racconti, storie, notizie, attualità, impegni, divertimento ed emozioni. Ci piace costruire qualcosa che sia fatto con i giovani, per i giovani e anche dai giovani.
E come ogni anno è uscito FIFA.
8 secondi è il tempo che impieghiamo per postare qualcosa sui social.
Entra invece in atto l'ossitocina.
Come essere più ecosostenibili.
Noi ci vediamo, alla prossima.
Spam è un magazine social only di infotainment per ragazzi tra i 17 e i 27 anni. Infotainment sono due elementi a cui teniamo tanto: cercare di informare in maniera fresca e originale, svariando tra le tematiche più delicate.
Ciao, sono Simone.
Questo è spam.
La depressione è un disturbo di personalità.
In un'era della morte.
Vado con la mia carrozzina.
Il Kurdistan.
In ognuna di queste ricerche venga piantato un albero.
41 stati pongono barriere alle ONG che lavorano su questioni di orientamento sessuale.
Senza dimenticare quelle più leggere.
Guarda il calzino tattico con i limoni.
L'uomo su Instagram è una tristezza indescrivibile.
Raga, stanno togliendo il like da Instagram, cioè non proprio i like, ma il contatore.
Sono problemi,
Dare spazio a storie difficili, ma importanti.
Io sono tetraplegico.
Posso danzare, posso dipingere, posso scrivere, posso vivere.
Sono Lorenzo e ho la sindrome d'Asperger.
Dare voce a tutti i ragazzi che hanno voglia di raccontare e raccontarsi. Sono una ragazza adottata.
Mi fa sei positivo all'HIV.
Ho causato questa amputazione, adesso sono robotico.
Sono un ragazzo F2.
Io l'unica scelta che ho fatto è stata quella di accettarmi.
Sono Silvia e ho la sclerosi multipla.
Sono davvero tanti i temi che abbiamo toccato in questi anni e abbiamo cercato di farlo sempre senza filtri, perché vogliamo che Spam sia uno spazio libero di incontro per i ragazzi. È importante costruire qualcosa insieme a loro.
Buon estate Spam. Sono le 2:30 e noi abbiamo superato il record di 10 ore di Radio Live.
Ciao Spam, buon estate.
Incontrare i ragazzi. Questa è una cosa a cui teniamo davvero molto. Ci trovi fuori dalle scuole, ai concerti, in qualsiasi luogo i ragazzi abbiano occasione di esprimere idee e passioni.
Ricordo benissimo la prima mia lezione di violino.
Gli eventi possono essere ecosostenibili.
Ciao, sono Francesca Zanzi, portiere del Milan e sono tornata su Spam.
E poi essere in grado di essere sempre sul pezzo, cambiare, ascoltare, dialogare e, perché no, imparare da loro.
Quello che ti porti a casa in realtà è molto più grande di quello che in realtà tu puoi dare a loro.
Non si è mai da soli, si è con se stessi.
Ma adesso siamo noi giovani a dire basta.
Sono migliaia le interazioni che abbiamo ogni giorno su Facebook e su Instagram. Ogni giorno sentiamo opinioni, incontriamo ragazzi, parliamo con loro.
Ci vuole anche una capacità di ascolto.
Vedi il bene che si fa sia ai ragazzi stessi disabili che anche alle famiglie.
Comprendere che le discriminazioni, laddove sono invisibili, comunque funzionano in maniera abusante.
I nostri video, poi meme, immagini, stories, sondaggi, quello che ci piace è sempre creare uno spazio di discussione, di dialogo.
Spam spacca perché dà ai giovani la possibilità di dire la propria.
Che dà spazio ai giovani.
Sono simpaticissimi.
Come una grandissima famiglia.
Spam è ogni giorno la conferma che si può affrontare qualsiasi tema, che i ragazzi hanno tanto da dire e sono pronti ad ascoltare. È importante essere lì dove sono i ragazzi, è importante esserci per i ragazzi.
Bisogna però credere in loro, capirli, entrare nel loro mondo e lasciarsi stupire da tutto quello che ci trovi.
Noi ci crediamo.
Ogni giorno.
Right, that's it. So in 2016, we created this project which had the purpose of adapting to new formats and new audiences, especially considering social media, since this was the place where young people, of course, usually use these contents. So as a public service, the first thing we did was we thought about an information format because we were interested in taking information to young people. And we did this by combining information and entertainment, as you heard in the video, so finding a very effective formula. Today, in fact, Spam is a very, very followed product by all the young people in Italian Switzerland. It has 11,500 followers on Instagram, 15,000 on Facebook, and all of them on target, and all from Italian Switzerland. So, I mean, this is almost half of our target that is covered this way. So if we take one by one all the young people in Switzerland, there are 25,000 in that age group in Italian Switzerland. So we reach almost all of them. And this is a 360-degree information with constant contact with the audience, and it has an extreme flexibility in terms of content and formats. We started with Facebook, then we went to Instagram, and then we went to Instagram TV, and the next step is going to be YouTube. The first reflection we did when Spam was launched was about the duration. So you just heard in the presentation that almost everyone talked about duration, 120 seconds, 90 seconds. We started with 59 seconds in the beginning, and this is something we did because we were thinking about the attention threshold. So as you know, on the different social networks, the attention threshold goes from 10 to 12 seconds, actually, before you skip a video. So 10 to 12 seconds, which are fundamental. In fact, all the analytics, which are media reference, analyze all the time. So if the video is effective or not, this is what you look at. It's when it is watched for more than 12 seconds. And therefore, it is super important also in the light of the fact that, as the Professor Cottori was just saying, that when you look for a video, then it will easily come up on your home, and then it will come up in your feed list and on the feed, on the Facebook feed, for instance. So capturing people's attention in those first 10 seconds is absolutely fundamental for people to watch that video. And therefore, we immediately thought that the editing of the video was something absolutely essential. I know that you are probably not going to edit your videos like this, but for the future, for anyone who wants to work in the field of communication, this is something super important. So to understand how an effective and impactful editing can work so that it's good for social networks. So to go back to what Professor Cantoni was saying, we have one rule, which is quite extreme, which is that the strongest part of the video, strongest part or content of your video needs to be in the beginning, not in the end, because 70 to 80% of people never reach the end of a video, even if it's only 59 seconds. So one of the things that we were most satisfied by in these past years of Spam is that we have the profile with the longest duration or the longest time of stay on the video. That means that 20 or 30% of the people reach to the end of the video. This is quite tragic, actually, quite dramatic, but it's something we need to work on, of course, and it's something that we can't do much about. This is the way social networks work. So if you are, the better you are, the more will this time of stay, of course, increase. So as I was saying, the introduction is fundamental. In the first 10 seconds, you need to have people wanting to watch the end of the video or to continue to watch it. And after those first 10-15 seconds, you need to create your own language. In the case of Spam, this language is made of very fast cuts. We have a lot of effects. We have different overlays. We have transitions, one after the next. And the one you see here is an editing, for instance, and it is a 95-second video, and we have about 92 cuts in there. So just consider that the cuts are really, really fast. Every 10-15 seconds, we actually cut and change, and we change the angle, we change the frame, we change the music or something else. Every 10 to 15 seconds, there's some kind of a change so that the attention stays high for the people viewing the video until the end. And this is a language that is really working very well and still working today, even after 4 years of Spam's existence. And another thing we are very, very careful about is this sound. So we change musics every 10 to 15 seconds, as I say, when we do a video. So if we have a 100-second video, we have, I don't know how many changes because I'm not good at math, but anyway, a lot of different sounds and musics. And another important thing when you talk about music is, if you can, don't use these presentation musics or jingles, because they're terrifying and they're really, really boring. So use real music for your soundtrack. I'll also show you how to do this later on, and also what kind of tools you can download even free to create a nice soundtrack and avoid those elevator musics, which are really super boring. Then the audio effects also are very important. Every time we have a transition, as you saw in the video, we have the zoom in, the zoom out, or whether it's the slides or even, we always have an audio effect combined with a transition, and this gives even more of an impact, and it helps the viewer to keep watching. Then, before music, I inserted this slide, which has to do with the appearance, the aesthetics and the image. There is a very old ancestral doubt about whether using smartphones is good or not. My experience is that it's very good. And inside SPAM, we use very professional video makers with professional cameras, and in the years, over time, we have learned that smartphones are actually very, very cool devices. They're super flexible and super effective for some genres, in particular, for example, for blogs, when you want to talk about something firsthand, or Voxbox, when you want to collect opinions. You don't need a camera, you don't need a specific mic. In fact, the iPhone mic is really, really good, even when you aim the camera at your interlocutor. And this has really proven to be a very effective tool. So we have really just used it very, very much. And the rules of the framing, of course, don't change unless you're working on different formats. And as you know, every social network has its own format. And this is another big dilemma, of course, for people who are doing audio and video today compared to the old world of television. On Facebook, we need squared videos. On Instagram TV, we need 16 inches. So on YouTube, you need 16:9 and so on. So every frame is different for every social network. But the important thing is that a beautiful image always works, and a beautiful photograph always works. And your eye notices it immediately. Even, I mean, when an image is unfocused or when it's very well shot, you can tell the difference right away. This is another big rule we always use, is the 4K. 4K always saves you. 4K is a recording or video recording technique, which you all have on your smartphone. I mean, at least if it's a newer generation one, it allows you to have the double size of your frame compared to the full HD. So if you want to go to full HD, you can enlarge or make it smaller, your frame by 50%, and that gives you, in one single shot, 2 types of frames. And that is fundamental for editing already, because it gives you 2 frames without losing any quality. And if you need to do a speech, for instance, having a 4K, for instance, helps you to play around with the different frames without having such a hard time. So it gives you 2 ready-made frames, so to speak. So what we consider is that you should have at least 3 frames, however, for an interview. So you should have a lateral side camera as well, if possible. So if you don't have one, of course, because you may not have one more smartphone available, then one thing that your smartphones do is that they have multicam apps, and that's an app that allows you to give 3 or 4 frames, different frames, and the 4th one is usually a selfie. So it uses all the cameras it has, the smartphone, and it gives you as many frames as possible. Then when you export the video, it will save 4 or 3, depending on how many cameras you have on your smartphone, and these 4 different sequences can then be edited to put together, and they're really, really useful, even if you don't do complex editing like we do. One small piece of advice I can give you is that when you are thinking about publishing this video, it's really important to know where you're going to put it. So it's fundamental to know that if you want to communicate by means of your channels, so your social profiles, then the cleanliness and the graphics in the feed is fundamental to make one more step towards professionalism. So when I access the feed of a professional profile, I will immediately recognize what it is. So what colors, for instance, in this case, these frames we have used, the fonts, the titles, all this gives me an idea of something uniform. And this really helps me a lot when I go back to visit that profile, right, to recognize it. So we worked a lot with the graphic design to have a feed that as soon as you access it, it seems like you walk back into your home, right? This is fundamental if you want to use social networks professionally. Now, what I was saying is that music is very important. First of all, a paradox. 70% of people, this is statistics you can find on any website, will watch a video without audio. And this is because often we watch them either in the classroom or in the bus or while we're driving the car, or as we're walking around, maybe we don't have our earphones with us, etc., etc. And this is also something very difficult to deal with when you're in my line of business, because we would like people to hear the interviews, of course, and not just to watch the images. But you need to consider that. It's a very high percentage, so we need to acknowledge that. That's why for us it's become mandatory to use subtitling for the videos, and all of the videos we make for social networks and for the web are subtitled. And this is because anyone watching it, even without audio, can therefore understand the interview. The paradox, however, which is quite entertaining, is that the social networks, the algorithm that makes sure that the video is seen on the home and on the feeds of all your contacts, it will recognize the songs. That's why I was telling you that the songs are so important and not elevator music instead. So it will recognize the song, it will recognize the songs that are most used at that time, and will therefore push videos that have those songs. This is something really simple to understand, because if the song works, it's easy to recognize. You will probably also see it somewhere else where you can buy it, etc., etc. So these videos are rewarded in the feeds. And as RSI, we have the rights, of course, to these songs, so we don't worry about using them. And often the artists themselves give instrumental versions of their songs. So you find the song, as you've heard in many of the pieces of the video I just showed you, you hear the song but without the lyrics, right? So you just hear the instrumental part. And that's really, really useful for the editing. Then we have another very cool tool, which is called Typebeat. And I don't know if you know this tool, but if you don't, then I suggest you go find it on YouTube. Typebeats are these beats that resemble the original music. So they're specifically composed to resemble trap music, for example, or Justin Bieber's music, or hard rock music, but they are not the original song. So there's no problem with the rights. And often we even put them at people's availability graphically by the editors, because that's of course advertising for them, and they're very helpful because the algorithm thinks that that is the real song, but in reality it just resembles it. But even to listen to, they're quite pleasant to have a song that reminds you of something that you actually know. In reality, sorry, I'm very fast right now. I didn't think it was going to be so fast. This is the last slide I have for today. Flexibility and change. As I was telling you, one of the successes of Spam was that over the years we have changed many different formats. We started from 59 seconds. Now we have 99 seconds. Then we introduced 120 seconds. And then we introduced 150 seconds. We also introduced a squared format. We had the 9/16 format and so on. We were the first to use Instagram, TV, and TikTok. So this was possible because we are so ready for change. We're ready to change the way we make these videos. We are also ready to change the way we edit them. And these are only some of the changes that we have experienced over the past 1.5 years. Instagram has launched 4 different formats for the contents, feeds. Instagram TV, which is a 9/16 video, and they are rewarded if they have 1.5 minutes or more. Stories, which are 15 seconds, as you know, and Reel, which is a new format to compete with TikTok, which is still being studied to understand what to do with it. But Facebook also introduced Watch, which is a new way of videos. So when you watch a video on a feed of someone, it sends you immediately to Watch. And this is something that has started to monetize videos. And this is the important step, of course, to understand when a platform is aiming at videos. And it gives a privilege to the ones that are more than 2 minutes long. So if it's more than 2 minutes long, it gets advertisement. Otherwise, it doesn't. So more or less, these are the same times that we work with. So usually, Facebook gives priority to videos more than 2 minutes long. TikTok uses videos for more than 15 seconds, but the algorithm will give priority to the ones that have been edited in the app, so have been uploaded already edited. And this is something you need to consider when you're working with these kinds of vectors. YouTube which is the most difficult platform in the world to work on, but I can guarantee we have been trying for years, but it is so hard to get YouTube to work correctly. It's super difficult because it requires an in-depth knowledge of the means, so you need to know very much about it, because in YouTube you're always just, one straw in the haystack, and it's really hard to get noticed, and you really have to be very good at making yourself known on that means. So the first thing that we asked ourselves was, or that we found out, is that YouTube monetizes videos that have from 3 to 5 minutes and up, and we haven't done that yet because we don't have the means yet to reach videos of 5 to 7 minutes. So before we face that challenge, we want to know if it's really worth it. And for a format like Spam, therefore it's fundamental to know how to find your way in these changes in the shortest possible time. So the editing of videos is maybe the first means that you need to use to face these challenges and these changes. So you need to be super good and super ready to change right away the way that you're conceiving this video, so that you can keep up with all of these changes and that everybody can see you, and that you don't, just stay there with 25 views, which, apart from being frustrating from a personal point of view, is also useless if you're trying to convey a message. All right, that's it. Thank you all very much for your attention.